Let's get right into it. Number 7. The Praise Junkie. You know that person who can't make a decision without asking 10 people if they're doing the right thing? Yeah, the one who sends a text and then immediately spirals because someone took too long to reply, which, in their head, obviously means they're a terrible person and deserve to live in a swamp. This is the emotional residue of conditional love. When you grew up in a home where praise was a rare currency handed out only after a report card victory or a perfect chore performance, your brain learned that being lovable depends on being impressive. Love wasn't a given. It was a grade. So adult, you keep submitting emotional homework to every partner you date, hoping for an A in affection. Your nervous system's been trained like a dog waiting for treats. The moment someone praises you, dopamine floods your reward circuits. You feel seen, validated, alive. But when that praise stops, withdrawal hits like caffeine detox. Suddenly, you're overanalyzing tone shifts, emoji choices, or the frequency of I love yous. Here's the twist. Your love language isn't words of affirmation, it's constant reassurance that you're enough. And until you learn that love isn't a trophy, you'll keep auditioning for affection that should have been unconditional from the start. Number 6. The ghost of neglect past. Picture this. You're in a relationship, everything's going well, and suddenly you start feeling itchy. Not literally, but emotionally. You pull back. You start craving space. You convince yourself they're too needy, too clingy, too much. The truth, you're allergic to being cared for. This is what happens when you grow up emotionally neglected. Not necessarily abused, just unseen. Maybe your parents weren't cruel, just distracted, busy, or emotionally tone-deaf. They didn't ask how you felt, only how you performed. So now, whenever someone genuinely shows up for you, it feels unnatural, like someone trying to hug a cactus. Your attachment system learned that needing people equals disappointment, so you built walls, called them independence, and learned to survive on emotional crumbs. Science calls this avoidant attachment, but let's be real, it's just your inner child hiding behind a do not disturb sign. Here's the messed up part. Your brain releases stress hormones when things get too safe. Safety feels unfamiliar, and unfamiliar feels dangerous, so you sabotage it. You pick fights, withdraw, or ghost not because you don't care, but because caring feels like walking blindfolded into traffic. Basically, your nervous system confuses love with risk. You can't relax, because you're still waiting for someone to forget you again. Number 5. The fixer. You don't fall in love, you start a rehab center for emotionally unavailable people. Every partner is a project, every argument is a therapy session, and every red flag is just an opportunity for growth. Spoiler alert, it's not. If you grew up taking care of adults who couldn't take care of themselves, a parent who was depressed, addicted, or constantly overwhelmed, you probably learned that love equals caretaking. Your brain equates being needed with being safe, because back then, love only existed when you were useful. Fast forward to adulthood, you date chaos like it's a hobby. You pick people who drain you, fix them, and then feel hollow when they finally get better and leave. It's not masochism, it's muscle memory. You only know how to love through service. Neuroscience backs this up too. Acts of caretaking trigger oxytocin, the bonding hormone, but when that's paired with stress hormones like cortisol, your brain turns love into an addictive cycle of rescue, relief, and regret. You literally get high on saving people who never asked to be saved. In short, your love style is basically trauma social work. You're not falling in love, you're applying for a second unpaid internship in emotional labor. Number 4. The clingy time traveler. Some people time travel with DeLoreans, you do it emotionally. 1 minute you're chilling, the next your partner doesn't text back for 3 hours and suddenly boom, you're 6 years old again, staring at the door, wondering why no one's coming home yet. That's the magic of anxious attachment, a psychological encore of childhood inconsistency. If your caregivers were warm one day and cold the next, your nervous system became a tiny chaos detector, always scanning for danger or worse, distance. You never knew if love would show up or ghost you. So, as an adult, you treat relationships like a fire alarm that's always about to go off. The biological culprit? Your amygdala, the drama queen of your brain, is constantly screaming, abandonment imminent, even when someone's just taking a nap. You send a text, see, delivered, and immediately start writing your own emotional obituary. You crave connection but fear rejection, so you oscillate between clinging and pushing away. Ironically, Your overprotective instincts create the very distance you fear. Your partner starts pulling back, not because they don't love you, but because being treated like a hostage of your anxiety isn't sexy. Basically, your inner child is still sitting by the window, waiting for a ride that never came. Only now, the vehicle is a text bubble that refuses to turn blue. Number 3, the Ice Sculptor. You know the type. Emotionless, chill, nothing bothers me energy. They could watch a building collapse behind them and still say, yeah, that's wild. They're not heartless, just expertly frozen. This is the legacy of emotional suppression, usually gifted by families where vulnerability was treated like weakness. Maybe you were told to man up, stop crying, or toughen up, so you did. You became a master at suppressing feelings, filing them away like overdue library books. The trouble is, repressed emotion doesn't vanish, it just mutates. Studies show that long-term emotional suppression rewires your prefrontal cortex and limbic system, dulling both empathy and joy. You can't selectively numb sadness without numbing love, too. In relationships, you come off calm and unbothered until your partner asks, "What's wrong?" and you genuinely don't know. You're disconnected from the emotional Wi-Fi. To you, love feels more like a logical partnership than a passionate experience. Safe? Sure. Intimate? Not really. Your childhood trained you to freeze to survive, but adult love requires melting. And guess what? Melting feels terrifying when your entire personality was built from ice. So, yeah, your emotional thermostat is broken. But hey, at least you're consistent. Lee Cold. Number 2, the performer. If you've ever changed your personality based on who you're dating, congratulations, you might be running a one-person theater troupe. This is what happens when your childhood self learned that authenticity wasn't safe. Maybe you had to be the funny one, the quiet one, or the perfect one just to maintain peace. Now, your adult relationships are built on masks instead of vulnerability. You're the shapeshifter mirroring likes, dislikes, even hobbies. Your subconscious motto, if I can be whoever they need, they won't leave. The science behind this lies in fawning behavior, a trauma response that activates the same survival mechanisms as fight, flight, or freeze. Your parasympathetic nervous system floods you with appeasement chemicals, literally rewarding you for self-erasure. The result? Chronic people-pleasing with a dash of identity crisis. The cruel irony is that by being everything for everyone, you never get to experience being loved for you. Your relationships feel full but hollow applause without connection. And deep down, that inner child who learned to perform is exhausted, begging for someone to see through the act. In short, you don't fall in love, you audition for it. Number 1, the security seeker. And finally, we reach the golden unicorn of attachment styles, the one that actually works. But plot twist, even the secure folks usually had to fight their way there. A secure love style often comes from childhoods, where emotions weren't treated like inconveniences. You were comforted when scared, validated when sad, and celebrated without conditions. Your nervous system learned that love isn't a gamble, it's consistent. That builds trust, emotional regulation, and an uncanny ability to not text when someone forgets to reply. But here's where it gets interesting. Even if your upbringing wasn't a Hallmark movie, you can still earn security. Therapists call it earned secure attachment, basically, emotional adulting. You learn to identify your patterns, regulate your reactions, and stop letting your inner 6-year-old run your love life like a chaotic CEO. This means catching yourself before you spiral into panic when your partner needs space. It's learning that affection isn't a prize, and independence isn't rejection. You don't chase, you don't flee, you just communicate. Wild concept, right? Biologically, this comes down to a balanced dance between your amygdala, fear center, and prefrontal cortex, logic HQ. When those two finally stop fighting like divorced parents, your relationships stop feeling like a war zone. You develop emotional resilience, the kind that says, I love you, but I'll be fine if you leave. The best part? Securely attached people create emotional safety wherever they go. They love without panic, give without exhaustion, and receive without suspicion. Basically, they're living proof that healing your childhood isn't about becoming perfect, it's about becoming peaceful. So yeah, your love style isn't fate, it's a reflection. And like any reflection, it changes when you start looking at it differently. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.